Shraddhavan anasuyascha shrunuyadapi yo naraha sopi muktaha shubhan lokan prapnuyat punyakarmana. Shloka number 71 of 18th chapter. In the concluding portion of the Gita, Krishna gives the Phalashruti for Bhagavad Gita. Many times we wonder, what is the purpose of Phalashruti? Why Phalashruti? And sometimes we also call it mistakenly Phalastuti. Every stuti incidentally has a Phalashruti. And the Shruti also has stuti. I don't mean to confuse anyone here. Stuti means prayers. Stotra. Stavana. Praying to Bhagavan. Now, we see in every concluding portion of any stuti in the Shastras, there is a Phalashruti. Now, stuti is addressed to Bhagavan. Shruti is addressed to us. Through stuti, we pray to Bhagavan. And through Shruti, Bhagavan strengthens our Shraddha. Now, both are very important. Sometimes, when we chant Vishnu Sahasranama, we are in a hurry. As it is Vishnu Sahasranama, if we chant it even leisurely, it will only take 20-25 minutes maximum. Sometimes it can be even 15 minutes. But then even in that, should we chant Phalashruti? Isn't it a waste of time? And sometimes we take the position, now we have advanced spiritually. We don't care for Phalashruti anymore. We don't care for any Phala. We chant for Krishna's sake. So why Phalashruti? Now, through the Gita, Krishna clearly demonstrates the importance, the significance of Phalashruti. Bhagavad Gita concludes with Phalashruti for the Gita. So therefore, if Krishna ends the Gita with Phalashruti, there has to be some significance to it. Now, how do we understand Phalashruti? Because every text in our Shastras, it can be a text belonging to the Vedas, the Vedanta, Itihasas, Puranas. In fact, in Itihasa Puranas, not only towards the end, many Adhyayas have Phalashrutis. Every stuti in the Itihasa Puranas has Phalashruti. Now, how do we understand Phalashruti? The Mimamsa Shastra helps us to interpret and analyze the Vedas and the Vedanta. Now, the Vedas and the Vedanta cannot be easily understood. We cannot easily analyze, interpret the import, the hidden messages. And therefore, we need the aid of Mimamsa Shastra. Mimamsa is the art and science of analysis and interpretation. Today, we study the science of interpretation, but then thousands of years back, we have a very rich treasury of texts which deal with the art and science of interpretation, called the Mimamsa Shastra. The Mimamsa Shastra was used to understand the Vedas and the Vedanta. Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa for understanding the Karma Kanda. Uttara Mimamsa for understanding and analyzing the Brahma Kanda. Now the same Mimamsa Shastra can be used to analyze, interpret and understand any part of the Shastras, including the Itihasas and Puranas, and the Gita, of course. Now the Mimamsa Shastra gives us a methodology to understand, interpret the Shastras. Upakrama upasamharo, abhyasa apurvata phalam, artavadaha upapatticha, lingam tatparya nirnaye. There are 6 methods that the Mimamsa Shastra gives for us to interpret any text. How do I understand what is the theme of any text in our Shastras? So even when, the same thing can be used even in our Laukika texts as well. When we take up any book, any good book written, how do we analyze and arrive what is the central theme? It's a different story that many books are written, and after reading also we still are splitting our hairs in terms of what could be the theme. But I'm talking of good books that are well written, well researched and written. The Mimamsa Shastra gives us a methodology. Upakrama upasamharo, abhyasa, apurvata, phalam, artavadaha, upapatticha, lingam tatparya nirnaye. Tatparya. The linga, the way to understand, these are the various methods. Upakrama upasamharo. Beginning and the end. The initial introductory portion and the concluding portion. If we take any text based on the introduction and the conclusion, we would be able to analyze what is the central message of that particular text. This is one way of arriving at the purport. Now, this is straight away applicable for the Gita. Dharma kshetre kurukshe, straight away introduction, dharma. And it also ends with sarva dharman parit, dharma. So, dharma, so throughout dharma. So therefore, based on introduction, upakrama upasamharo, if we can arrive, that is one method to understand the purport. Upakrama upasamharo. Abhyasa, repetition, reiteration. If one message gets reiterated throughout the text, everywhere throughout the text, it gets reiterated, it gets repeated, then based on that, we can conclusively establish that the central message, the central purport, the object of the text is that message which gets reiterated. Once again, that is again applicable to the Gita. Or for that matter, any text if you take, Bhagavatam, Ramayana, Vishnu Sahasranama, every text. Upakrama upasamharo, abhyasa, apurvata. If the text conveys something which is very unique, something which is not unheard of, which we do not normally find in many other texts, then that could be the central purport, the message of the text. Another way to understand apurvata is if the text provides messages which are not accessible elsewhere. For example, if you take the Vedas, Shabda Pramana, Vedas talk about Bhagavan and the way and the means to realize him. This is not found anywhere else. In no other pramana, pratyaksha or anumana do not provide the means, the ways and means of knowing. So therefore, Brahman, that supreme being, is the central message of the Vedas, will be very clearly understood through the method of apurvata. Upakrama upasamharo, abhyasa, apurvata, phalam. We'll leave phalam, we'll come back. Arthavadaha. Upapatticha. Arthavada. Arthavada means logical state explanations. Explanatory statements which are logical in nature, which reinforce a particular proposition throughout the text. Various logical means are used in order to reinforce one central theme. Based on those logical arguments, if we are able to arrive at a conclusion, then that becomes the central message of the text. This is Arthavadaha. Upapatticha. Upapatti is another beautiful method. We see this being deployed in all our Shastras, including the Gita, using beautiful similes, metaphors, analogies, examples, in order to convey complex subjects. Metaphors with which we can easily understand a complex subject which cannot be otherwise explained. Now, through those similes and metaphors, the conclusions that we arrive at, those conclusions point towards the central message. Upakrama upasamharav abhyasa apurvata phalam arthavadaha upapatticha lingam tatparya nirnaye. Now, if you looked at everything, there is one important thing here, which is phalam. Be it the Vedas, be it the Upanishads, be it any part of our Shastras, they always, after every significant portion of text, there is always a phala. This is what we refer to as phala shruti. It is shruti because the Shastra is saying, hey, listen, shrunu. Shru, the root shru means to hear, to listen. We know this because Krishna keeps always telling us, reminding us, hey Shrunu, just when we are about to get distracted, Krishna says, hey Shrunu, then we once again come back on track. Similarly, phala shruti is pointing to the phala of doing something. If when you do certain things as prescribed, then you are bound to get certain benefits. This is what Phalashruti typically gives. And Phalashruti is not just for knowing the rewards, the gifts, but through Phalashruti, we will also get to know the central message, the central purport of the text. Therefore, Phalashruti is so very important. Some few years back, someone approached me and said, I'm chanting Vishnu Sahasranama very regularly, but since I'm chanting very regularly, I don't have time. And therefore, is it okay if I only chant all the 1000 namas and don't chant the Phalashruti? Because then I can save time. I said, how much time Phalashruti takes? 3 minutes, 4 minutes. How much time the main text takes? Maybe 15 minutes. I said, then chant the Phalashruti, don't chant the main text. Because the Phalashruti is so very loaded with profound messages which give us the very central purport and theme of the entire text. Not only for Sahasranama. This is where we get to see in the Gita. It is very categorically stated in the Phalashruti, and based on which, when Krishna says, when you do this, you attain me in the Phalashruti, the central message is very clear. Attainment of Bhagavan is the purpose of our life and living. Swadharma jnana vairagya sadhya bhaktyeka gocharaha Narayana param brahma Gita shastre samiritaha. Discovery, experiencing, realizing, and eventually attaining that Parabrahman, Narayana, is the purpose of life, and this once again is reiterated in the Phalashruti. Krishna once again For the third time, he talks about the importance of staying engaged with the Gita. We saw how he recommended how this message of the Gita must be shared with one and all. Then he said, it must be shared and it must also be studied. It cannot be shared if it is not studied. Now, for it to be studied, one needs to listen. That's where the third recommendation is coming. He says, Shraddhavan anasuyascha shrunuyadapi yonaraha. Shraddhavan anasuyascha. Two important qualifications. He says, the one who listens to this nectarine Gita, this conversation between you and me here, Arjuna, this samvada, one who listens. And this listening is qualified by two important adjectives here. Shraddhavan. With the listening has to be with Shraddha, and anasuyascha. One should be non-envious. One should be endowed with faith. Both are very important. Without this, listening is of no use, he says. Shraddha. Repeatedly in the Gita, we see the importance of Shraddha. Without a foundation, if a building is built, it is going to collapse. The deeper the foundation of a building, the longer it will last. If we need to build 100 stories, the foundation must be sufficient to take the 100 stories. It must be much more deeper than the external building. Similarly, to build the mansion of our own spiritual life, we need the foundation of Shraddha. No, it is only with Shraddha that we can continue to be on the journey of the Gita, to be engaged with Gita, because Krishna knows. Way back in Dwapara Yuga, he knows in Kali Yuga, people become restless. They all want 2-minute solutions to everything. Anything beyond 2 minutes, anything beyond a minute, they are not ready to even listen. So therefore it's a Shraddha, and if one doesn't get answers, one should not become dejected immediately. One comes to one session of the Gita, first chapter, and then says, I did not get any answers to the profound questions in life. You have to wait. There are 18 chapters. No, I cannot wait for 18 chapters. Shraddha means the mind stays open. Without Shraddha, the mind gets closed. If there is no Shraddha, the mind gets closed with negativity. We listen to a couple of shlokas, very confusing. Oh, these are bouncers. We would have gone through 20 years of education and would have understood nothing about physics and chemistry. Then we would go through. But when it comes to spirituality, we want answers immediately. And then we get dejected. And then we completely become negative. I'm not getting answers. You said Krishna will speak to me. No, he's not speaking to me. Wait. Take time. With Shraddha, but if there is Shraddha, the mind always remains open all the time. Instead of negativity, there will be positivity and purpose. The purpose is very clear. Shraddha keeps that momentum towards our purpose. And therefore, Krishna says, very, very important. Shraddha is believing in something that we cannot see. That is Shraddha. Believing in something that we cannot see. No, we all will always believe only what we want to see. But believing in something that we cannot see is Shraddha, and the reward of the Shraddha is to experience, realize and see what we have never seen before. And that is exactly what happens through the journey of the Gita. What we can never see, what we can never experience, what we can never realize, as we journey through the Gita, we start experiencing, realizing and seeing it. And that Shraddha is one of the qualifications. And then he says, Anasuyascha. Second qualification. Non-envious. Non-envious. Why Krishna is saying non-envious? envy is the opposite of love. Envy is the opposite of love. Krishna says, if there is no love, then you cannot listen. No, it is very true even in our mundane lives. If we do not have love for someone, we will not listen to them. If we are envious of someone, there is no way we are going to listen to them. Envy and love are antonyms. So when Krishna says, Anukulyasya sankalpaha pratikulyasya varjanam. Anukulyasya sankalpaha means do what pleases him. Pratikulyasya varjanam. Do not do what displeases him. Envy means Anukulyasya varjanam pratikulyasya sankalpa. Doing exactly what displeases him and not doing what pleases him. Covers most of us. We may say we are not envious of him, but this is exactly what the point Krishna is saying. Non-envious. Envy also has a sibling, hatred. Envy also has a sibling, non-acceptance. Envy, another opposite of envy is generosity. When there is envy, we are not generous. What is Krishna saying? You must be generous to listen to Gita. We all will say, I thought Krishna is supposed to be the generous one. He is the benefactor. Why is he expecting me to be generous? Yes, he is expecting us to be generous with our time. Give some time to Krishna. Give some room. We have a huge place for us to live. Have we given him some room for him? Some place where he can stay with us? That is physical. Have we given him room in our heart and our mind? Have we given time to him? No. If we have to journey through the Gita, is there in our busy schedule in our lives, are there slots for Krishna anywhere which are hardwired? We can say, yeah, we have slots, but no, something comes, then that's the first thing that we will reschedule. Something comes, that becomes priority. Krishna says, Anasuya, that is why he looks at Arjuna and says, Arjuna, I am sharing this Gita. Idam tute guhyatamam pravaksham anasuyave. He says, Arjuna, I know you are non-envious. That is why I am sharing Gita with you. Many times we will ask the question, why did Krishna choose Arjuna? Because Arjuna gave his 100% attention to Krishna. Arjuna gave 100% time to Krishna. And when that happens, Krishna gives 1000%. So he says, if Gita has to be listened, that listening needs to be qualified by two things. Shraddhavan anasuyascha shrunuyadapi yonaraha. If that happens, if that kind of listening takes place constantly, then Krishna gives the phala. What is the phala? The phala says, Sopi mukta shubhan lokan prapnuyat punya karmana. Krishna is so very compassionate. See how he makes things so very easy for us. He says, all that you need to do, hey Arjuna, all that we need to do is to just listen. Least effort. Listen. And through this listening, you will fulfill the mission of your life. Doing several punya karmas for several janmas. Listening to Gita is like all these punya karmas over every lifetime that we can think of, all put together, possibly is not equivalent to listening to Gita. He says, your life's mission is fulfilled. Very important here to understand how Krishna is coming down to us. Instead of us going up, Krishna is actually coming down. That is why his avatars are descent. He keeps descending for our sake. For our ascent, the descent happens. Now it's like, it seems, one man fell into a well, a deep well. This man fell, and then the rescuer, he started shouting, help, help. Well was so deep. And then the rescuer passed by. So the first rescuer looked at him and then he said, I will help you. And then immediately he brought a long rope, put the rope inside. And then the rope reached down and he said, please come up. Now the rescuer had to start climbing, put a lot of effort and climb. This is one approach of one rescuer. There was another rescuer who came, who brought the same long rope, pulled it and said, just hold on, I will pull you out. Now this man who fell into the well, all he had to do is just hold on. The rescuer will put the effort to pull him out. Then came another rescuer who not only brought the rope, he tied a nice seat, a beautiful seat, cushioned seat that was tied, and he sent it across, and with a welcome drink inside that, because you're thirsty. You've been suffering inside. Nice welcome drink, some snacks on the way, no long, so enjoy. And then he said, just sit, I will take care of this. Krishna belongs to the third category. He says, share the message of the Gita. Then immediately we say, very difficult. Now I want to share, but there are very few people who want to listen to. Okay, very difficult. Study the Gita. No, that is also very, very difficult for me. Please, can you listen? The phala here Krishna is talking about is not ordinary phala. He's saying the ultimate phala is guaranteed just if you keep listening. Because while the world enters us through our eyes, Krishna enters us through our ears. The world enters easily through our eyes. Krishna easily cannot enter through our eyes. Why? Because in the initial stages we look at Krishna and we say, is he an idol? Is he a stone? I mean, is it true? Is it wrong? Is it a mythology? We start asking all funny questions. When we look at his beautiful form, just the eyes alone is not enough. The rest of the world will easily go into that, but Krishna has to first come into the ears. Once he starts coming in through the ears when he comes in, seeps in, he occupies inside. And then when we use the eyes to see his form, that's when we start to relish him, experience him and enjoy him. Until then, what was just another Vigraha now becomes Krishna himself. Then we no longer ask this question. There was a Mahacharya called Parashara Bhattar. He is the son of the illustrious Kuresha, disciple of Swami Ramanuja. He was sitting in Srirangam in front of the Sanctum Sanctorum. Somebody came and asked him, how do I see Bhagavan? He laughed and said, you are standing right in front of Ranganatha and you are asking, how do I see him? He is there, right there. Now, he is there as Archa, accessible to us, we can see, and still we keep asking the question, can I see him? Can we see God? Very intellectual questions we ask. When he is available to us through his Archa Vigrahas. Therefore, Krishna, listening to the Gita is so very important for us. And this process of listening, that is why it is said that as years pass by, our fears only increase. It is only with our ears we can reduce those fears. When we are young, we are very playful. We are having a jolly time. Everything is rosy. No responsibilities. Luckily, every minute that we have, we can nicely play. As we start growing up, when youthhood comes, very proud. Beautiful body, strong body, nice looks. We do not even recognize the immortality of the body. Until aging starts to knock the doors. Then fear starts to grip us slowly. Over the years, fear starts to grow. The fear of ceasing to exist is always there, right from 1 day old to 100 years old. But the fear starts to grow as we keep aging. Fear starts to grow with the years. How can we overcome this primordial fear? Whether we like it or not, this is the fear which is the basis for every other negative emotion that we ever experience in life. And there is no cure for this fear. And the only cure is our ears, Krishna says. When Krishna enters our ears, these fears slowly and steadily will start disappearing. And that is why listening to the Gita is so very important. The more we listen to the Gita, the more we engage ourselves with the Gita, we start to conquer our fears. Because then our purpose becomes bigger, bigger and bigger. When the purpose in life starts to become bigger and bigger, fear starts to become smaller and smaller and smaller. Until the purpose of life expands and becomes massive, fears will always overpower us. The moment the size of our purpose starts to grow, that is when fear starts to disappear. And how will the size of our purpose grow? Only when Krishna keeps entering through our ears through the Gita. If there is a rich man who comes and says, "Come home, I'm going to give you $1 million." We're all so happy. So happy, and then we rush. There's a queue because he's going to give money. We say he's very, very charitable, very noble person. Now, the rich man comes knocking the door. Knock, 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 knock. We open the door. "Here, I have $1 million for you." We say, "Wow, he's extraordinarily charitable." And then we find out, we open. He's nicely sorted out various denominations so that we can easily spend. And along with that, there is a credit card also given. Whenever you want, you can swipe. We say, you are not only extraordinarily charitable. Krishna is like that. The problem is, we don't realize. Many times, he is so accessible to us that we take that accessibility also for granted. When things become accessible, sometimes we take accessibility for granted. This is where we need to be watchful all the time. Keep recognizing that magnanimity, that benevolence, that shower of blessings that are always drenching us every moment of our lives. And when that kind of listening happens throughout, then Krishna says, be assured that your life's mission is fulfilled, and all the rewards that would normally come to someone by performing punya karmas over several lifetimes is assured. Thus, Krishna, by giving the Palashruti, does two things. One, to those who are very, very keen on knowing what is the phala, he highlights it. Obviously, there is nothing wrong. Sometimes, in today's world, rewards are important. And unless one sees the reward, one is not motivated. So Krishna also caters to that category. And at the same time, through the Palashruti, he also once again highlights what is the central purport of the Gita. Central purport of the Gita is to realize that the purpose of life is a life of only one purpose: attaining Krishna. That message once again comes loud and clear through the Palashruti. Therefore, with Shloka 71, the Palashruti also is concluded in the Gita. 18 chapters of the Gita and the Palashruti of the Gita is also concluded. But there are few more shlokas to go before we can say the Gita is completed. And those shlokas deal with what next after Gita? What next after Gita? In many ways, it is also a good reminder for us, a good reference for us as to what next after listening to Gita. So that we will continue in the coming sessions. Until then, let us keep contemplating on Krishna's repeated assurance that just as the Palashruti says, if we do what he asks us to do, he will definitely do what he always does. If we do what he asks us to do, or let me also put it slightly better. If we do the little things that he is asking us to do, he shall do the big things which he always does for us. With this, let us contemplate on this very important message of Palashruti. Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu.